Welcome to Behind the Business. My name is Will Boyd. I am super excited to be launching a new project here, and I want to document it as I go. We're going to be interviewing different entrepreneurs, business owners, people who have run successful companies, and hear the background of their stories. And this is a project I've wanted to take on for a while. I've been looking at a way of how do I get back into creating a podcast, a way to interview folks. For a backstory that used to be how I originally got into this world of online business, of figuring out marketing and sales. So I'm really excited to get back into it. A little bit of context. Back in 2016, graduated from physical therapy school with a doctorate degree. And during that time, I was super frustrated, though. Wasn't getting answers from the school in terms of the bigger picture questions. Like, I knew I was going to be leaving with over 6 figures in student loan debt. I didn't know how to pay that off. Didn't have strategies. And I was pretty much being told at the time, like, don't worry about it, get a job. And I remember thinking, like, I need to know some strategies. I need to know some tactics. And I didn't know where to go. And so I actually ended up starting a blog, made it about 2 posts, and realized I'm terrible at blogging. Like, when you blog, I feel like you kind of got to know what you're going to say. And to be honest, I didn't really have an expertise at anything. And so trying to write as a subject matter expert on a blog was just felt so misaligned with where I was actually at in my journey. And so I actually, I'd been listening to podcasts for a while. I was listening to the Tim Ferriss show for a really long time. And I just thought, maybe that'd be a better way to go about it. I really like the interview format. I liked learning. That way. I liked hearing people's stories. I liked the backstory behind why someone had the success that they'd had or the struggle that they'd had. And so I'm really excited to get back into that and share the stories of folks. And so that podcast originally was called the Nobody's Podcast. It was more about health, wellness, business, not business strategy, more like alternative career path kind of topics. It was really cool. We ended up getting to interview some amazing people, some really successful entrepreneurs. We got to interview Olympic athletes. We got to interview people who had written best-selling books. It was just super cool. And after about 2 years, I published an episode every single day. It kind of ran its course, and I ended up kind of shutting it down as I was just moving into the business path. And this whole world of podcasting introduced me to the world of social media marketing. Back in the day, I was using Twitter to be able to reach out to these influential people who had bigger audiences than I did. I would interview them and have them on the show. And so that ended up really working. It taught me a lot about social media marketing. It taught me a lot about these online platforms. It taught me about visibility, content distribution, about content marketing, a world I had no clue about, had no idea that I would ever end up in. And, funny how the world works out. You kind of follow something that's really interesting, follow something that's really passionate. And it took me down that road, and I ended up getting some freelance work, really not intentionally. I ended up interviewing a prosthetics company for our podcast, and they were local to where I live. And I went and interviewed them, and afterwards, they're like, we've really been wanting to launch a podcast ourselves. And they offered to pay me to help them launch their podcast. And so that was my very first time I remember getting paid for this kind of freelance work that I hadn't really even considered. I didn't even know it was a thing. I was just interviewing folks, thought it was fun. And I got paid. I was getting paid like $300 a month to do. I'd help them edit the episodes. I'd help them publish it on a website. I'd help them make a drag and drop website for that show. And it was really cool. It ended up being that the host of the show ended up getting to speak at conferences and go travel to conferences. And it was really, really cool. Introduced me to the power of content marketing and content distribution. And it ended up leading me into a world of wanting to learn more about it. So I got into Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising and learning about social media, paid media sources, getting into sponsorships for podcasts and realizing all that. And I really document this and tell you this part because it's kind of the behind the business of where I'm at now and what I'm doing and kind of how the business has evolved. And so that led into creating a marketing agency for physical therapy practices. That was a lot of the clientele that I had in the beginning. And I was interviewing physical therapy business owners on my podcast, and it just kind of naturally evolved. I was learning the skill of paid media. They were running a practice and needed more patients, and kind of started working with them and found my business partner in that process. And he and I together, Alex and I together, built a marketing agency that morphed eventually into kind of like a done with you coaching program for these physical therapy practice owners. We would train them how to install the marketing systems into their company. We did that for the better part of 3-4 years, and a part of that we dove into helping healthcare professionals create their own online businesses. It was a big thing. People are burned out in the healthcare profession. If you're a part of it, you probably know and have felt it. And we were helping people create sort of digital products, helping them create online programs, how to take some of what they're doing online. And so that was really cool. And we were at a kind of a point about 2.5 years ago where we didn't want to run an agency, and the coaches kind of thing was like, just didn't feel great to us. But on the side, we had actually been, my business partner, Alex, had been helping folks understand their personal finances and business finances. So Alex has been my business partner, Alex Engar. If you don't know him, he's got a great YouTube channel. I highly recommend you go check it out. Alex Engar talks about all the financial principles that you need if you run a business. And Alex was coaching people on their finances. And we were at a point where it was like, what do each of us want to do? And like, what do we love doing? And Alex loved coaching people on their finances. I loved running marketing and advertising campaigns. And so we kind of had a moment about 2.5 years ago of like, hey, what should we focus our energy on? And it's like, well, what if we just double down on what we like to do? I'll run marketing and advertising campaigns to get financial coaching clients, and Alex can do the financial coaching. And so 2.5 years ago, that's kind of how that started. We had some referrals from our marketing agency clients. We were actually helping quite a few of them understand their own finances. It's funny how when someone's really successful on paper, you think they're doing really well, and they say, hey, we can no longer afford to pay you for your services. You're like, how's that possible? We're bringing so much money in. And you realize that top line revenue is a very deceiving bitch of a metric at times. She can be super deceiving in the sense that you could be doing $4 million a year in revenue, but if you've got $3.9 million in expenses, you're really not taking home much cash. And that was what we were seeing with a lot of companies. What we were seeing is the reason for that was, one, a lack of discipline. So like not having discipline and looking at it, paying attention to the numbers. It was kind of this like, eventually we just keep making so much, eventually all the finances will add up. But it's like, hey, if you're trying to double something at 1% margin, like it's going to take a lot of doubling and doubling and doubling before you actually feel a difference in your business. And, we had the benefit of running an online business at the time. And so we were profitable, our expenses were always low. And so we understood that game quite a bit. And we always had freed up cash flow. So it was interesting to go in and help these brick and mortar practices understand their cash flow a little better. And long story short, we're getting some private clients that way. And then we moved 2.5 years ago all in on CEO Finance Academy. So that was right during the pandemic. So during 2021, we made that shift, and it's been awesome. We've had over 140 clients at this point, especially between the CEO Finance Academy, which is the name of our company, and the program that we take entrepreneurs through, and Alex private clients doing financial coaching, well over 140 clients, and getting some really incredible results for those folks. And that's what we do now. So just to catch you up behind the business, right? Like, what is my business? What do I do? I'm interviewing a lot of folks, and I want to kind of share the background of my journey of where I'm at. And right now, I head up our marketing and sales department of CEO Finance Academy, which is our company where we train small business owners to become the CFO of their own company. And kind of why that exists, if you're a small business owner and you're interested in this, I would assume that's going to be hopefully the audience for this is you're a business owner, is that we, Alex and I, as we were growing the company, we realized we needed systems for understanding our finances. So like most entrepreneurs, We had QuickBooks. Well, we didn't have QuickBooks. We used a different version of QuickBooks called Zero at the time to try and do bookkeeping. Realized, man, there's a lot to this. And so we hired a bookkeeper, probably one of the best decisions we ever made. And then we hired, obviously, an accountant for filing our taxes and what we were hoping would be tax strategy. And the reality is we love our bookkeeper and we love our accountant, but the business model of a bookkeeper and accountant is usually it's a pretty low dollar monthly wage, or if you're accountant and you really make your bread and butter doing filing for taxes, those are kind of like lower dollar one-off events. You got to have a lot of clients. And you know what it's like when you have a lot of clients for your business owner, the ability to do quality control over that is going to diminish. I don't care how many people you have on your team and how great they are, like just law of, inputs. Like if you have so many inputs, eventually quality is going to diminish. And so we realized like we weren't getting coaching on any financial understanding. We were getting just, hey, here are the categorizations of your transactions, okay, what a bookkeeper will do. And then we would have our accountant go, great, hey guys, here's, let me look at this and I'll create tax deductions for it. And I say that knowing that, trust me, a lot of bookkeepers and accountants are way more capable than that. That just seems to be the business model of how it goes. And I think if you're an owner and you're watching this and you're not a bookkeeper accountant, I'm guessing you can relate to that as well. And so I was kind of looking at, like, Alex and I were looking at, hey, what's out there? And if you've ever read a book, Profit First, it's an amazing book. Love Profit First and what Mike Michalowicz has built. Really helped us lay some foundations early on of how do we look at organizing cash flow. But even Profit First, we realized, as we were continuing to grow into multiple six figures and pushing seven figures, like it kind of had some limitations and we needed more advanced understanding of our cash flow. And so, we were looking at like, hey, what are our options? And to be honest, a fractional CFO or CFO, like, just didn't seem like something we could afford, or even like, I wouldn't even know what to look for if they came in. I think there's kind of a bit of fear as well of like, they're going to look at all of our stuff and be like, what have you guys been doing? And be judged and all that stuff. And so essentially I have to give so much credit to Alex, my business partner. He ended up taking on the role of creating our financial system. So he took Profit First as kind of a foundation and then layered all of these cool tools and systems that we've built now to create what we call our certainty system, which means at the end of every month and at the end of the year, we know exactly where every single dollar needs to be distributed and why. And be able to do a monthly review of our P&L and be able to go through, assess it line by line, and be able to understand where we're at in our business, which then allows us to be able to create projections, right? We're able to look into the future a little bit. Hey, if things continue as they are, here's where we're going to end up. Let's do some forecasting. Hey, short term, here's what's going to happen. Let's do some longer term projections. And that's given us so much clarity and ability to scale when it comes to marketing, hiring team. And by no means are we perfect. Like, we're like any other company as we're growing. Turnover at times of staff or things like that where we're trying to figure it out. But overall, we've been able to scale and continue to scale to a point where we're maintaining profitability, being able to do the things that we want to do. And so that's kind of our journey here. And I'm excited. We're going to be diving into the stories of other entrepreneurs and their backgrounds. And I probably will at some point document some more steps along the way. And for our business model wise, just so it's kind of cool. Alex has built a system. So the CEO Finance Academy is kind of like, it is a true academy where it's one-on-one though with a profit coach. And what's super cool, I love this about our company, is every single person on our team has owned a business before. All of our profit coaches take you through the certainty system, which is the system that we've created and use. But all of them have owned or run a 7 or 8 figure company before. And so we've got people on our team that are just absolute incredible entrepreneurs, profitable business owners who meet with our clients weekly, every single week, having essentially a CFO meeting with them, taking them through our certainty system. And so it's been really cool to find these incredible entrepreneurs who are at a different stage in their life where they've kind of, they went through the trenches of building a profitable business, they exited, sold, or stepped away from it and are now able to coach other small business owners on turning them into the CFO that they need to be in order to run the business. So many times we see owners, including ourselves, Alex and I, when we first started, we became the marketing leaders of our company. became the product and service leaders of our company, creating the product, creating the service. And then we became the sales leaders, right? If you're going to grow, you got to be able to sell. But we weren't originally the financial leaders of our company. And so that's what we're really training owners to do, become the financial leaders of their company. And we take them through this 4-month journey, an initial 4-month journey of turning them into the CFO of their own company. So that way they have the knowledge, expertise, and tools to be able to see in what's going on from the past of the business, but then where are things headed and be able to make sense of where does cash flow need to go. So that's a little behind the business of CEO Finance Academy, but myself as well, my journey. And I'm excited for you to stay tuned for all the people that we're going to have on the show. And if you have anyone that you ever want to recommend, drop a comment in one of the videos. If you have someone that you think would be a great person to interview and share their story as an entrepreneur. So until then, I will catch you on the next episode of Behind the Business. See you guys.